Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
I look like a dork, I admit it, but I'm wearing two watches today.
You know, I would say, compared to my watch, those screens are very small.
How do you survive?
I have a much larger
How do you
screen.
survive? Motorola released these are Android Wear watches. These are not Apple watches. We have to wait till next year for those. But Google announced at Google I/O this year the Android Wear platform. The thing to understand about Android Wear is and you were the one who observed this, they're all essentially the same software-wise.
Absolutely.
It's the hardware where there's some variation. And that's mostly true, although there are some software customizations. This watch on the left is the one that came out first along with Samsung. This is the LG, and it's square.
And you wear it like that all the time, right?
And I wear it like this all the time.
Both watches the same?
No.
Okay, good.
Because I've been trying the Moto 360. In fact, this is the one everybody was waiting for. It just came out, sold out within a day, and just today, this morning, as we speak, they put it back on sale. They may be sold out already again. The thing that attracts people about the Moto 360 is its looks. It's round. That's nice.
Yes.
Very nice leather band compared to the white rubber band that I got with my LG. In both cases, these are 22mm watch bands, so you could theoretically buy another watch band and replace it. But this leather, you're not going to want to replace right away. It also does something interesting I want to point out. Unlike the Apple Watch, unlike the LG Watch, the band joins the Moto 360 right at the bottom.
Yeah.
So even though these watches tend to be thick for battery, this one is entirely above the band, so it feels like a normal watch. There's another thing I really like about this, and this will not be true of the Apple iWatch. You can put your sleeve over it. It really is more like a real wristwatch. The iWatch is so thick your sleeve won't actually cover it. And in some cases, the square watches will catch on the sleeve. But let me show you the watch itself, because that's really why you're buying this, is for its functionality. Android Wear ties to an Android phone. It has to be an Android phone, but it could be any Android phone. Now, the difference between the square watch and the round watch is just that the corners are cut off on the cards. It's always cards. You can swipe through the cards by swiping left or swiping right. Swiping right, let's do this again. Swiping right gets rid of a card. Swiping left will give you more information about a card. You can also dictate to it, and you see it's already hearing my dictation. That means you can send text messages. In some cases, you can take a note. You can show you your steps, heart rate. In some cases, you can even respond to text messages. Depends on which text messaging app you're using on your smartphone. With Google Hangouts, when a message comes in, it'll show up on my watch. I can swipe over, press reply, and dictate a response immediately. That's pretty handy. It does a good job. I use this for alarms. I use this when I'm cooking to start a stopwatch. It's really great for that feature. The other thing that's great about these kinds of watches is, of course, the face is customizable. Let me just get rid of some of these cards. Oh, it's 20 degrees in London. By the way, if you swipe right, you get more information. Actually, that's swiping left, right? And then if you swipe right, I never get this right. It gets rid of it. Whoops. And we got a text message from Lisa. By the way, let me show you that. When you get a text message from somebody, this is Hangouts, it automatically puts their picture in there. That's neat,
yeah.
Right? I can swipe right and I can respond. You bet I am. And it's going to send that reply.
Wow.
I can cancel it, but typically you just want to let it go. I'm going to get rid of some of these so that I can actually show you. Oh, this is part of the demo, so let me say, okay, got it. If you have a Nest thermostat, you can program your Nest thermostat. Let me swipe all of this out of the way so we can get back to, you see there's a lot of information.
Yeah.
This is basically Google Now. It also has a pretty good step monitor, and as you can see down here, it has a heart rate monitor too on this. This is one of the typefaces. Motorola has unique typefaces, which is nice. You customize these by going into the settings. So I'll scroll down to settings and show you some of the other type watch faces. But you'll notice as I do this, one of the things people don't like about this watch, the flat tire look. Motorola puts some information, some controls here in the bottom. You can't see it so much on a black watch face, but if I switch to a white watch face, you'll see what I mean. It's just cut off a little bit on the bottom there. That doesn't bother me as much as it does some people, but it is certainly something to be aware of. I like the customizable watch faces. Now, when this came out, The Verge and others reported that battery life was bad on the Moto 360. They said you can't even get through a full day. Now, I'll have to explain something about that. That's both true and false. By default, it has the same battery life as the LG, but the default setting is slightly different from the other Android Wear watches. There's an ambient watch face on the LG. It's always on. It dims, but it's always on. That is turned off on the 360. The way the 360 is set up, if you're not looking at it, and you could see that early on when I was showing this, it's dark.
It's just off.
It's off. And if you turn this ambient face on, you're not going to get a full day. So the default settings will get you through the day plus. Easily 20 hours. I got through a 15-hour day with about 50% left. So there's plenty of battery life on this if you can get used to the idea that the watch face is not always on. It's only on when you look at it. And here's the other problem. It's not even then always on because sometimes it's not responsive. So I flipped it up and it comes on, but it doesn't always do that. I think that's why Motorola gave you a stem. It's the only Android Wear watch with a little button. If the watch face doesn't come on when you tip it up, you can also press the button to bring up the watch face. So I think in many ways I like Android Wear. I'm a little concerned about the Apple Watch because it feels like they've put too much functionality. This is very simple. It's basically Google Now cards. There's a Facebook notification that you can swipe off. You can dictate to it. You can tap it. Set a timer for 5 minutes, and it will do that. Actually, it didn't do that, but set a timer for 5 minutes. I do this with cooking all the time. It's really handy because now it's going to set it in 5 minutes from now. My watch will go off.
Now, does it have the issue of, okay, Google?
No, you don't have to do that. Oh,
well,
you can do
I
that.
can say it. And
yeah, anybody can say it. It's not trained. It's not a big deal. And in fact, if you don't say anything, it'll time out after a while.
Right. But I can say, okay, Google, remind me to pick up the milk.
Not really worried about that too much. I guess somebody could set a reminder for you without your... But you'd know because he's shouting in your ear.
He's yelling right next to you. Yeah.
The other thing that they do really well with this, and you know what, Jason, could you bring me the dock for this? I'd forgotten and left the dock. Jason's Howells. This is Jason's watch. I gave it back to him. Most of these Android Wear watches have pogo pins on the back and a little magnetic dock that you have to put it in to charge it overnight. And by the way, yeah, you're going to want to charge these overnight. That's just kind of the nature of these smart watches. But that doesn't bother me as much as it bothers some people. I charge my phone every night, too. I just take the phone out, put it in the charger, take the watch out, put it in the charger. I do really prefer Moto's charger. It's a little dock, and you put the watch in sideways like this. It won't, because it's not plugged in, it's not going to do anything. But it changes to a dim clock face and a charging ring, and this makes it actually an excellent bedside clock.
Wow.
So I think that's kind of, and there's no pogo pins. It just sits in there and does wireless charging. So I have to give them positive grades for this. Look, this category is brand new. I think people were right to say, let's wait and see what the 360 is like compared to the LG and Samsung Android Wear watches. I definitely think this is the best Android Wear watch. Let me give you the pros and cons, though, before I give you my recommendation. First of all, round is good. This is definitely the best looking, the most stylish. You could wear this to a dinner party, to a concert, to, a black tie affair, and not feel like you're wearing some sort of weird, geeky watch, right? I mean, this just looks like a nice watch. It's not great that it's dark all the time, but maybe they think you're a secret agent or something. I don't know. There are customizations that Motorola offers, its own Fit app that is a little bit better, I find, than the other Android Wear watches. And I just love the smart charger, the wireless charger that doubles as a bedside clock. I think they did that very nicely. See, there it is.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, the battery life requires that you leave the screen off except when you're looking at the watch. That's a negative. It's the only Android Wear so far that requires that. And as you'll notice, it's not always real good about popping the watch face up.
Now, do you think that's because of the screen technology they use? Is it not OLED, or do you think it's just a smaller battery?
Well, after iFixit tore this down, we found out that it has a smaller battery and a 4-year-old system on a chip from a TI, an OMAP, that is a very much higher power processor.
Oh, well.
So for reasons I don't fully understand, Motorola didn't design this to have good battery life. Again, if you don't you know, if you turn off the default setting, which is that the watch face goes off when you're not looking at it, plenty of life, it's not a problem. And I mean, I use it all the time and all. It's not a problem. It's only a problem if you turn that ambient face on all the time, then it won't get through a whole day. And I think that's a negative. The flat tire also bothers some people. So there are a couple of cons. Battery life, flat tire, doesn't always come on. However, and I really agonized over this last night because this morning more Moto 360s came on sale. I wasn't able to get it when it first came out. I didn't order it in time. So I had a couple of weeks to think about it. And I finally decided to buy it. So I did buy this morning. So I think I'm putting my own money where my mouth is. By the way, 2 choices of bands. That's the gray. I always like the black. That's the one I've got. But they do have a gray band as well. It's also a little more expensive than the other Android Wear watches at $250, but still $100 less than the least expensive Apple Watch. I think for some time to come, this Moto 360 is going to be the smart watch for most of us if you're using an Android device. So a definite buy on the Moto 360.